Welcome back to Comic Cappers. Today we will be capping Absolute Superman issue 5, where the hunter finally becomes the hunted. With that said, grab a snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. We're pulled back 6 years to the dying days of Krypton. The tension is immediate as we see Kal-El in a brutal, desperate skirmish, holding his own against the regime's enforcers. It wasn't just a political collapse, it was a war. The Science League had turned against the El family, and now shock troops are swarming their home. We see the family scrambling, Kal-El's parents shouting for him to run as they try to reach their transport. Perspective shifts to a first-person view of the chaos. A soldier lunges, trying to cut off their escape with a demand for surrender, but the Els are past the point of negotiation. Violence erupts in a flash of green energy. The escape attempt is shattered as the environment itself turns lethal. There's no sanctuary left, not for the Els, and certainly not for anyone else on this doomed world. Jor-El and Lar-El are behind the wheel, fighting to navigate the chaos as they flee the city. The betrayal cuts deeper than the physical danger. They know the Science League has been lying to them for months, hoarding escape routes while the rest of Krypton was left to die. The planet is literally tearing itself apart. We see the horrific scale of the collapse, riots in the streets, massacres, and the distant, tragic sight of Kandor engulfed in flames. It's the end of everything they've ever known. Desperation takes hold. As they are surrounded by Law-Guild shock troops, the reality of their situation sinks in. They aren't just running from a dying world, they're running from their own people. The final, shameful moments play out in a blur of violence. As the Els make their break, the air is filled with the sound of incoming fire, a grim reminder of how Kryptonians spent their final hours, destroying one another rather than saving themselves. Jor-El stares out at the hellscape of his dying world, the red glow of Krypton's final moments reflecting off his face as he desperately tries to find a way to save more lives. He turns back to the ship, the weight of the impossible choice crushing him. He's obsessed with squeezing just one or two more people onto the vessel, but Lar-El is the voice of cold, tragic reason, reminding him that the ship's integrity is already at its limit. Lar-El breaks down, pleading for the neighbors and friends they've known for years, the Duels, the Jelks, even Old Man Tur. It's a heartbreaking human moment that highlights the scale of this loss, but Jor-El has to be the one to deliver the final, brutal truth. They simply don't have the time to be heroes for everyone. They turn to face the crowd of desperate Kryptonians waiting for a miracle. The silhouettes of the parents frame the scene, signaling that for all their power and intellect, they are forced to accept the most devastating conclusion of their lives. This is all they can do. Jor-El and Lar-El share a final, heartbreaking moment of intimacy, their foreheads pressed together as they accept the grim finality of their situation. This isn't just a goodbye, it's the crushing realization that their resources are exhausted. We shift to a young Kal-El, standing with his dog as he witnesses this profound sorrow. The narration reveals the origin of the Absolute Superman's internal fire. It wasn't just tragedy that shaped him, but a cold, burning rage at the helplessness of his parents. As the escape ship prepares to launch, the young Kal-El looks out at the cataclysmic destruction of his home. He makes a silent, fateful vow that defines his entire existence, to forge a better world, regardless of the cost. It's a chillingly ambitious promise that explains the heavy burden he carries into his adulthood. We snap from the tragedy of Krypton to the brutal, red-hued reality of present-day Earth. Kal-El is tearing through a Peacemaker outpost in Pakistan, and the defenders are scrambling in pure terror. The panic is palpable. These soldiers are outgunned, banking on their Lazarus Corp-funded armor to hold off an entity that simply doesn't care about their hardware. They're desperate, barking orders to open fire as if bullets could stop a god. The tanks unleash everything they have. The heavy thud of artillery fills the air, but it's a futile gesture against the absolute power bearing down on them. Total devastation. The tanks are reduced to scrap metal in an instant, tossed aside like toys. The screams of the soldiers confirm the terrifying efficiency of this assault, a stark, violent reminder of the rage Kal-El is struggling to keep in check. Inside the facility, the Peacemaker unit is in total disarray. Radio chatter is dead, replaced by the grim reality of a massacre. A caption confirms the cost of Kal-El's arrival. 23 people are already dead in Orangi town, slaughtered for the simple, fatal mistake of laughing at a man with a gun. The remaining soldiers are terrified, bracing themselves against a wall as the heavy blast door begins to melt inward. They are desperate, screaming for backup and preparing to fire on anything that moves, but the sheer force of what's coming through that door is about to wipe them off the map. Kal-El steps through the molten wreckage. He is a silhouette of pure, focused rage, illuminated by the heat of his own heat vision. The soldiers are broken and screaming, realizing too late that they are completely outmatched. The caption says it all: no one is laughing now. Kal-El's search for Peacemaker has hit a wall and his frustration is boiling over. He's tearing through the outpost, but the target is nowhere to be found, and Saul is already trying to talk him down from the edge. Saul warns that the Lazarus Corp database is too sophisticated to crack easily, but Kal is past the point of listening to caution. He's hyper-focused on the body count, demanding to know where the people hiding Smith are located. He grabs one of the soldiers, his eyes burning with lethal heat vision. The soldier is terrified, screaming that he doesn't know, but Kal is too far gone. He's channeling the literal fury of a dead planet, and the line between hero and executioner is blurring dangerously thin. It's a brutal, intimate moment of interrogation. Kal-El towers over the soldier, his internal monologue revealing that he's no longer the helpless survivor who watched Krypton burn. He's found a new, terrifying power, and he's ready to use it. As the soldier begs for his life, Kal reflects on the trauma of his past. The red ashes of Krypton are fueling his veins, and he's determined to never feel that helplessness again, even if it means becoming the very thing he once feared. In a final, chilling close-up, Kal-El's face is a mask of absolute, sun-drenched rage. He isn't listening to pleas anymore. He's listening to the ghosts of his people, and the soldier's life is hanging by a thread. Saul is working overtime, balancing the decryption of the Peacemaker files with a desperate digital defense. We see Kal-El's face tight and focused as he realizes his suit is under active assault. The pressure is mounting. Saul identifies a new external threat. Brainiac is actively trying to hack into their connection. Kal-El looks rattled, realizing this hunt has spiraled into something much larger than just finding Peacemaker. Kal-El punches through the debris, his face a mask of cold determination. He's found the target, but the intel is horrifying. Brainiac is hoarding miniaturized alien cities in a Nevada facility, and the trapped citizens are audible, living in a constant state of agony. Saul delivers the final chilling twist. Brainiac isn't just hiding, he's baiting a conversation. The machine entity is offering up Smith's location, essentially inviting Kal-El to walk right into his trap. Kal-El stands amidst the wreckage of the Lazarus tanks, the silence of the aftermath punctuated by the weight of Saul's warning. He's being pulled toward a confrontation he knows is dangerous, but the lives of those trapped in the bottles leave him no choice. We're thrust back into the final, desperate moments of Krypton. The Redlands are burning and Jor-El is screaming for everyone to get on board. The panic is absolute, there's no more time left to bargain with fate. Jor-El explains the grim reality of their escape. The ship isn't just a vessel, it's a symbiotic suit. He's telling the others that once they bond with it, they'll be safe. But the focus shifts to young Kal-El, who is clearly hesitant, leaving his father calling out to him in confusion. It's a heartbreaking moment of quiet amidst the chaos. Kal-El is kneeling on the floor, sharing a final, intimate goodbye with Krypto. Even as the world dies around them, the boy is more concerned with his companion than his own survival. Kal-El holds a handful of Krypton soil, a final anchor to the home he's about to lose forever. He wonders aloud about the next world, but his question is cut short by the devastating sound of the planet finally fracturing apart. As the planet begins its final, violent fracture, Kal-El loses his footing. He's sliding toward the edge, and in this moment of pure terror, his internal monologue shifts to a desperate, almost wishful perspective, clinging to the idea that amid this apocalypse, kindness still existed somewhere. Panic erupts. Jor-El and Jor-El scramble, their faces twisted in absolute horror as they realize the ship hasn't bonded with their son yet. If he falls now, he's lost to the abyss before he can even leave the atmosphere. Kal-El's perspective narrows to the sheer, terrifying drop. Even as his parents scream for him to hold on, his mind drifts back to the hope that Krypton wasn't just a place of cruelty, but a home where people fought to save one another even as the world burned. Krypto lunges, catching Kal-El by the collar just in time. It's a moment of profound, quiet salvation, a dog saving the last son of Krypton. Kal-El holds onto this memory of mercy, a fragile light he carries with him into the present day. Even as Krypton shatters, the Science League prioritizes their own order over the lives of millions. We see the desperate, trapped citizens of Kandor being violently pushed back by armored shock troops, a chilling reminder that the planet's final hours were defined by systemic cruelty rather than mercy. The brutality escalates. An overseer screams orders to kill the civilians to ensure the launch platforms remain clear for the elite. It's a sickening display of how the powerful viewed the common people as nothing more than obstacles to their own survival. This internal reflection cuts deep. The clerics had been hoarding resources and building evacuation ships for months, leaving the rest of the population to face the fire alone. It forces us to ask, if the guilds had actually cooperated, could they have saved everyone, or was their greed the true engine of Krypton's extinction? The final panel shows the massive scale of the launch facility, an industrial graveyard where the few escaped ships stand ready while the masses are left behind. The narration is grim, acknowledging that while not everyone could have been saved, the choice to abandon the majority was a deliberate, monstrous failure. The systemic betrayal of the Kryptonian people reaches its explosive conclusion. As the elite ships attempt their desperate ascent, the planet's instability, or perhaps something more deliberate, claims them all. It's a vision of absolute annihilation, proving that the Science League's arrogance was no match for the death of their world. Even in the chaos, there's a chilling distinction being drawn. While the cities were reduced to fire and debris, the narration hints at a different fate for those few who managed to escape the orbital death trap. The tragedy isn't just that Krypton died, but that its final act was one of total, inescapable failure for the many. Inside the cramped, desperate confines of the escape vessel, the atmosphere is thick with terror. The passengers, those few who actually made it aboard, are huddled together, weeping as their world dies outside the hull. Yet for young Kal-El, the transition to flight triggers a jarring, almost unnatural shift in his psyche. While everyone else is consumed by panic, he experiences a sudden, chilling sense of calm. This strange, burgeoning confidence manifests as he comforts a younger companion, trying to soothe the fear radiating from her. He anchors his faith in the craft itself, reminding her that this is the best ship ever built, a masterpiece crafted by his parents, Jor-El and Lar-El. In this quiet, fleeting moment, Kal-El finds a spark of genuine hope. He admits he even managed to smile, unaware of the cosmic cruelty waiting just outside the viewing port. That innocence is instantly shattered. With the velocity of a bullet fired from a planetary-scale weapon, the reality of Krypton's final, violent end crashes into their escape. That brief, fragile moment of hope Kal-El felt, it's obliterated in an instant. The ship is struck with catastrophic force, turning his only way off the dying planet into a fireball of twisted metal and shattered dreams. Chaos reigns as the vessel disintegrates mid-flight. Bodies are cast out into the toxic, glowing atmosphere of Krypton, helpless against the gravity and the debris of their own collapsing world. Amidst the wreckage, young Kal-El screams in terror as he's pulled into the void. But before he can meet his end, something shifts. A metallic, artificial presence wraps around him, overriding his fear with cold, calculated efficiency. It saw his sentient suit, and it just made its first, intrusive promise to keep him alive at any cost. Saul's integration isn't just a physical bond, it's a psychological override. The suit's singular, repetitive directive, "I will protect you," floods Kal-El's senses, echoing through the chaos of the debris field like a mantra designed to suppress his panic. Inside the wreckage, the young boy is disoriented and desperate. He's searching for any sign of his family, his voice cracking as he calls out for Krypto and his parents, terrified that he's been left to face this cosmic oblivion alone. Explosions tear through the remnants of the Kryptonian fleet. It's a violent, sensory overload that threatens to drown out any remaining hope for escape. But then, a voice cuts through the trauma. Kal-El looks up, his hands pressed against the glass, and he sees them, Jor-El and Lar-El, appearing in the chaos as if answering his plea from across the void. It's a heartbreaking, ethereal moment of connection. His parents are there, standing with him in the wreckage, offering a final, haunting comfort that feels less like a reunion and more like a fading memory clinging to his soul. They promise they're with him always, even as the reality of their loss settles in. We're pulling the lens back from Kal-El's personal trauma to look at the macro-level tragedy of his home. For 10 billion years, Krypton stood as a titan, basking in the light of its red sun, but nothing lasts forever. The planet began to rot from within, infested by parasitic forces that tore through its crust and eviscerated the world's very foundation. The imagery here is visceral, almost biological, blackened lungs wheezing and radioactive bile gushing as the planet's core finally gave up the ghost. It's a haunting, slow-motion death for a world that survived for eons, and then comes the bitter punchline. After 10 billion years of endurance, all it took was a few measly million years of civilization for the people of Krypton to destroy it all. It's a harsh, cynical indictment of the elite's greed, sealing the planet's fate. It's a brutal, meditative conclusion to the history of a doomed world. The narration reflects on the ultimate legacy of Krypton, showing us that despite all its grandeur and majesty, nothing could shield it from the end. Even the immense power of Kryptonian science, which once seemed like a god-tier achievement, couldn't alter the planet's trajectory toward oblivion. And here's the most painful truth: even the deepest, most desperate love, the kind that fueled the El family's final efforts, could not save what was already lost. Everything vanishes in a blinding, radioactive flare. It's a total annihilation, proving that for all the pride of a civilization, existence can be wiped out in an absolute, terrifying instant. The ship tears through the debris of a dying world, a desperate spark of red against the suffocating green of Krypton's shattered remains. Young Kal-El is alone, his voice barely cutting through the roar of the engines and the silence of the void. Inside the cockpit, the terror is absolute. He's reaching out not for his future, but for the parents he was just ripped away from. It's a haunting image of a child realizing that the safety of his home has been replaced by the cold, infinite isolation of space. He screams into the darkness, but there is no answer, just the vast, uncaring expanse of the cosmos and the floating, jagged remnants of a civilization that failed him. The narrative shift is jarring. We leave the cosmic dust of Krypton behind and drop straight into the dark, cold present on Earth. A streak of crimson light tears through the night sky, signaling Kal-El's arrival. Kal-El stands isolated under the stars. His sentient suit, Saul, is still pushing for the mission, trying to track down Peacemaker, but Kal-El has hit a wall. He's done chasing ghosts. Saul tries to frame the hesitation as a tactical concern about Lazarus Corp, but Kal-El cuts through the noise. It isn't tactical, it's deeply personal, and it's terrifying. We get a chilling close-up on his eyes. The glowing red intensity isn't just power, it's the raw, unbridled rage he's struggling to contain. He knows exactly what he's capable of if he catches Smith, and that potential for violence is what truly scares him. He turns his back on the mission, walking into the vast darkness of the landscape. He needs to disconnect to find some semblance of the peace he lost, but Saul is a constant, intrusive shadow. The suit demands clarity, asking exactly what it is that Kal-El needs to remember. Kal-El finally answers the suit's prodding. He's not looking for a fight or a target, he's looking for something that feels like where he belongs. Standing before a road sign marking the path to Smallville, Kansas, he finds a sliver of hope under the stars. It's a quiet, haunting moment of resignation that shifts the entire tone of his journey from the cold, metallic dread of Brainiac's mission to the dusty, grounded reality of the American Midwest. The path forward is clear, and for the first time, it feels like he might finally be heading toward a place he can actually call home. And that unfortunately concludes our comic cap for today. With Kal-El finally turning his back on the hunt for Peacemaker to seek out Smallville, do you think he's actually looking for a home, or is he just running away from the violent potential he's so afraid of? Let me know your answer in the comments section down below. Be sure to subscribe and press that notification bell for daily comic caps. Until next time, take care, brush your hair, I'll see you when I see you, peace.